Tell her I do not have control, I do not think.
I passed you the ball, so you should be able to share your screen.
Let's see, where can I do that?
Hi, Nelson. This is Kathleen. And hi to everybody on the line. If you'll give us just 1 minute, we see people are still signing on, and we'll get things all connected so Nelson can share his screen. Nelson, it does look like you should have controls. There you go.
Excellent.
All right, perfect. So I'll just kick things off here. Again, hello to everybody who's joining us this afternoon. My name is Kathleen. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Xywave. And I'm just really acting as the MC. I'll be fielding or making sure that I triage any sort of questions that come in through the Q&A. But I also have the pleasure of introducing Nelson Griswold and Scott Cantrell. I'm sure most of you know who they are. They have consulted with thousands of agencies around the country. They're also best-selling authors. And, you know, the reason why Xywave partners with Nelson and Scott is because we really have very similar missions and passions, which is, of course, to see agencies and brokerages grow. And we mean that. And so as you look at the webinar title today, 2 shortcuts to maximize your agency growth. This is something that we're excited to have Nelson share and be a part of this. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. As I mentioned, we will have time for Q&A, and we really encourage and enjoy participation. So on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see an option to either submit questions or comments through chat or the Q&A. Feel free to do that at any point. Also, if at any point during the discussion you would like to talk further about any of these items, you can email us here at Xywave and we can get you to the right person. You can email us at marketing@xywave.com. And lastly, we do have recordings of this webinar that will be available within about 24 to 48 hours of today's live event. And we post those right on our website on xywave.com. Nelson, I'm not sure if that's something that you post on your website as well, but I'll go ahead and turn things over now to our presenters. Thank you.
Kathleen, thanks very much. Charlie, good to be with you as well. And we're delighted to do another presentation for Xywave. The industry is changing so much, and the challenges facing agencies are particularly strong today, and so much of it has to do with changing your business model and changing the approach that you take to the way you do business. There were no changes for about 60 years. It's pretty much a status quo industry. And then with ACA and some other longer-term trends in the industry, there has been a tremendous amount of upheaval and disruption. And so we want to talk about today 2 shortcuts that will help you maximize growth, organic growth, in your firm. And one of the reasons we love partnering with Xywave is all about helping agencies increase their capabilities, become more efficient, leverage technology, leverage data, and these are all part of what an agency has to do today to stay current, to stay relevant, profitable, independent, and growing. So this is Nelson Griswold, and I'm here with my partner, Scott Cantrell. Let me just start with a quick word about us. So why are we on this webinar? Why did Xywave come to us and say, hey, guys, we'd love you to do some thought leadership webinars and get some of the ideas that we talk about out to Xywave users and the rest of the folks that follow Xywave? Well, Scott and I are, as Kathleen alluded to, we're agency growth strategists. We consult with employee benefit firms and benefit practices at P&C shops around the country. A lot of our clients have been featured on magazine covers, featured in magazines from Rough Notes to Employee Benefit Advisor Magazine, Benefits Pro, etc. And we are all about helping an agency get the fundamentals right so you can get back to growth like you were used to back in the day. We're here today as part of an organization that we work with called the Association for Insurance Leadership. The tagline is elevating the industry. The Association for Insurance Leadership, or AIL, is dedicated to the idea that we are full of leaders. We have a tremendous number of leaders in this industry. Now, I don't mean the type that stand up in front of a microphone in front of a huge crowd and talk. I'm talking about leaders of their own agencies. And the AIL, which is exclusively for owners and principals of independent benefit shops, but also practice leaders on the benefit side at PNC shops, we are about helping individual agency leaders elevate their own firm. Because look, if you will elevate your own firm, if you'll make your agency better, what happens to the industry in your market? Well, your competitors have to get better, or you're just going to start taking business away from them. So it's a slow but sure ratchet. As your agency improves, the industry improves. So the AIL is about equipping agency leaders to grow and improve and create what we call a next generation benefits firm. Now, one thing that you might be familiar with is our, and there's the URL ail-assn.org if you'd like to check out the association. You may be familiar with, you may have attended our annual meeting for the AIL. It's called Ascend, the Agency Growth and Leadership Summit. We are going to be doing our third Ascend conference in January of 2018. If you are an agency leader, owner, principal, or practice leader of a benefits shop in a PNC firm, I urge you to check out attendascend.com, and we'll be getting information out there on registering for the next Ascend conference. It is all about equipping and empowering you as an agency leader to grow your business. All right, let's talk about today. What takeaways will you leave this webinar with? Well, first, and this is the promise of the title, 2 essential shortcuts that you can use to grow your agency. How? Faster and easier. Scott and I are often telling our clients, look, really all we do is bring certainty around your actions, and we help you achieve your goals faster and easier. That's really all a consultant, an advisor, a coach, a strategist does, faster and easier to your goals. We have a formula for steady and meaningful growth that we'll share with you. Anybody on the webinar play golf? That was a joke, being the insurance industry. We're going to talk to you about why you can look at golf as the perfect model for your own firm. And then, what's your most costly challenge? Without question, we'll talk about that. There is one word that separates top performers from all others, and then we have a bonus, how to implement the 2 shortcuts we're going to share with you, how to implement those shortcuts quickly and easily. So how do you get those shortcuts that make your job quicker and easier, quicker and faster, right? Quicker and easier. All right, so I want to turn this over to my partner, Scott Cantrell, who's going to be, we're just going to jump right into the content here and talk about the challenge of agency growth. Scott?
Thanks, Nelson, and welcome to everybody on the webinar. Always a pleasure to be a part of these thought leadership webinars that Zywave presents, so just glad to be on. Nelson's right. We're going to jump right into content. We've got quite a bit we want to cram into a short period of time, and we also want to try to make sure there's time for questions at the end of the program. So right now, I want to talk to you about the challenge of agency growth, and you can see it there on the screen. That's not a blue smiley face. That represents the gap between where an agency is, where a given firm is, and where you ultimately want to be in terms of where you are from a number of clients or revenue source or how fast you're growing to where you want to be in terms of adding more clients or a bigger book of business or adding more larger groups versus just smaller groups, or just growing at a faster rate. Maybe you've been growing the past few years, but you want to accelerate that growth because you know there's tremendous opportunity. So this is the challenge of agency growth. It's this huge gap from where you are to where you want to be. Now, there's 2 key elements of any given challenge, and Nelson has already alluded to them. Nelson's already alluded to them. They're very simple. The first one is ease, and the second one is speed. So ease is a function of effectiveness. Ease is how effective are you? And the question to answer is, how difficult will it be to achieve this given challenge, to overcome this challenge, or to achieve this result we want to achieve? So that's one part of a challenge. The second part of any challenge, and I don't care if you're trying to lose weight or if you are trying to bulk up, or if you're trying to run faster, or whatever you're trying to do, the second issue is speed, and that's a function of efficiency. How efficient are you? And the question we ask is, how long will it take to achieve a given result? So any challenge in our life, and specifically in terms of what we're talking about today, agency growth, we ask ourselves this question: how difficult is it going to be to grow my agency, or to grow my agency faster? And then, how long will it take to achieve faster growth? Or how long will it take to achieve higher levels of growth or success? These are the two key elements. And so what we're going to be talking about today is these things. This is a famous quote by Peter Drucker, and it breaks down this concept between efficiency and effectiveness. They are not synonymous in any stretch, form, or fashion. He says efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. So it's not enough just to know what to do. You have to put it into practice in the right way. It's not enough to know what. You also have to know how. So effectiveness is what that determines how easy something is, what to do. And then how to do it determines how speedy you will achieve the result, how efficiently you will achieve the result. So today we're going to be talking about both of these two issues. And the two shortcuts we're going to give you are strategic level shortcuts. They're not tactical. Full transparency, they're not tactical, they're strategic. But I can tell you over the last 6-7 years, Nelson, that we've had the privilege of working with agency leaders around the country, what we've been focusing on is how do we make them more effective, how do we make them more efficient? And it all begins with these two strategic shortcuts that we're going to be revealing today. To set that up, though, I want to talk about these 4 journeys to success. There are 4 paths to success. And we're going to talk about each one in turn, and then we're going to focus on the 4th one in terms of giving you these 2 strategic level shortcuts. So the first path to success is the traditional route. Nelson said that the industry effectively didn't change for about 60 years, and then almost overnight it was upended. And the models changed, and the opportunity exploded, and people got fearful, and employers got scared and doubtful and had a lot of uncertainty, which you as consultants, advisors, was a tremendous opportunity. And you have that new tremendous opportunity on the horizon once again with all the new shakeup at the federal level. But at any rate, the traditional approach is one method, one journey to success. And I'll articulate and actually show you a visual of what the traditional approach looks like in a minute. The second journey to success is an effective journey to success. So in other words, you know what to do. It's an easy path to success. Not necessarily speedy, but it's easy. The third journey to success is an efficient path to success. It's speedy, not necessarily easy, but you can still get where you want to go faster. The fourth journey to success, though, is one that Nelson and I have been working hard to develop and refine and model for our clients over the last several years, and we refer to it as the next generation approach. You may have heard us, if you've heard us speak before, you may have heard us talk about the next generation benefits firm or the next generation agency. Well, there's a next generation path to success, and it's one in which you are both effective and efficient. So let me show you what these models look like in turn, so you can kind of visually imagine where you are, and one of these is going to stand out to you. You're going to be able to relate to one of these four journeys, and then we're going to dive deep into the fourth next generation journey to success. But here's the visual for the traditional approach. Remember, we've got this gap from where you are to where you want to be, and that zigzag from the left to the right, it is a zigzag. You know, we know from geometry that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right? I would argue the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line that's the shortest it can possibly be. But what we see there on the screen is a slow and difficult slog from where you are to where you want to be. And this is where the vast majority of agencies live in terms of trying to move to that next level of success, in terms of trying to grow their agency better, faster, easier, et cetera. They are not applying two shortcuts we're going to talk about. They're not applying the tactics that we teach as well. And so the journey is slow and difficult. It takes a while. You know, they may be satisfied with 10 or 12% growth year over year. Well, we've got clients growing at mid and high double digits every year. And so that's much more appealing. The point is, the zigzag represents the path that most people take from one side of this chasm to the other side. It's a zigzag, constant course correction. They may go off the path quite a bit of, quite a ways, and then they have to turn back and go the other way, and then they cross over that line, and they have to constantly course correct. So they're constantly having to make changes. And then the space from where you are to where you want to be is still great. So you're course correcting, and it's a slow and difficult process. And for most agencies, this is where they are in terms of moving to the next level of success. Some agencies, though, have evolved, and they've developed a more effective approach. They still may not be growing as fast as they want to grow, but the growth that they're experiencing is easier. And that's because they've identified and they've implemented an effective approach. Notice what happened to the line. The line got straightened out. The line got straightened out. And so what that means is there's not as much course correction that has to happen. The line's a straight line from where you are to where you want to be. The distance is still the same, so it's still slow, still a slower process than perhaps it needs to be, but it's an easier process. There's less turning back, okay? That's the effective approach. Other agencies take this view. Notice what happened to the smiley face. Notice what happened to the gap. It got closer, right? It narrowed. But the path, the zigzag, is still there. It's still a very difficult journey. It's just a shorter journey because you're working so hard, and you're moving, and you're trying to run super fast. And this is where a lot of agencies were around 2010 and 2011, trying to play catch up, trying to get caught up on the regs and rules. And pretty much since then, this is where a lot of agencies have lived, and this is where a lot of agencies continue to be. They try to be ultra efficient. The problem is you can know how to do something, but if you're doing the wrong thing, then your path is going to be a lot more difficult. You're going to be wasting a whole lot of important resources, your time, your effort, and of course your financial resources as well. So there is a fourth approach, a fourth journey to success, and that's what we refer to as the next generation approach, the next generation journey to success. Notice that the gap from where you are to where you want to be is still narrowed, but the line is not zigzagged anymore, it's straight. So we've shortened the distance between where you are and where you want to be, and we've smoothed out the line. And this is what happens when you do the right thing in the right way, when you know what to do and you know how to do it. You have a fast and easy journey. I should say faster and easier journey from where you are to where you want to be. Nelson and I aren't trying to paint a pie-in-the-sky picture. It's going to require real work. It's going to require real investment. It's going to require real time and effort of you and your team to get where you want to go. Don't think that we're saying it's fast and easy, but when you apply what we're going to show you today, these two shortcuts, you will be in the next generation approach world, and your journey to success, your journey to a higher level of growth, your journey to accelerating your level of growth, even if you're already growing, will be faster and easier. And that's what so many of our clients are experiencing, and those who even aren't our clients but are applying these models are experiencing. They're following a next generation approach that allows them to get where they want to go faster and easier than any other journey to success. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Nelson to walk you through these two strategic shortcuts. And the first shortcut we're going to begin with is the secret to easy. Nelson?
Thanks, Scott. Great stuff. One of the reasons what we're about to share with you is so important is if you have noticed the mergers and acquisition trend that's been going on in the industry, and you basically have to be asleep or dead not to notice it, there are an awful lot of agency owners who are selling their business. They're 55 years old. They're no more ready to retire than I am. The money that they're being offered, sometimes the money's crazy money, and I get that. I get taking that. Occasionally, someone who sells is ready to retire. It's an exit strategy, and it's appropriate, timely, and there's nothing wrong with that. So if you've got an exit strategy or it's crazy money, I get it. What I don't like, what I understand, but I really grieve, are agency leaders who are selling because they don't know what to do next. They don't have the answer to the question, what's next for my agency? So what we're going to be talking about here is, in part, identifying, how to identify what's next, and then how to get it implemented. So let's talk about the secret to easy. In the keynote that I gave at our Ascend conference, I talked about 3 characteristics of next generation benefits firms that are killing it. They're having high growth. They are entering new markets. They are competing with and beating the big regional and national houses. And these are relatively small to mid-sized independent firms. So what are they doing? Well, the first was manager mindset. That was the first characteristic. The second one was model the masters. So what does that mean? Well, the masters are those who are doing a great job, those who are doing what you'd like to be doing. More importantly, getting the results that you would like to get. So if you play golf, you might be looking at Brent Snedeker, who happens to have gone to my prep school and is from Nashville, where we're from. You might be looking at a Brent Snedeker or a Phil Mickelson or Tiger Woods in his prime. Those are the masters, right? So I want to play golf like them, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So modeling the masters is about identifying the best strategies, the right strategies to achieve your goals. That multiplies your effectiveness, tenfold, 100-fold. You're now doing the right things. This goes to, I want these results. Who's getting these results? I'm going to do what he is doing. So let me give you an example. We've got a case study, and we're going to use the concept of what we call rainmaking. So this is the part 1 of the rainmaking case study. Rainmaking in our vocabulary refers to public speaking. It refers to what's known as one-to-many. So instead of going, of course you don't go door to door knocking to meet people, but instead of going out and calling on clients and meeting with them one at a time, rainmaking is the idea of speaking to the Rotary or the Civitan or a chamber meeting or professional business women. And now you've got one-to-many, and it's much easier to have an impact one-to-many. And the other thing, of course, is if you're speaking, you are a professional. You are an expert, and people love to do business with experts. So our first case study involves a client of ours in Bettendorf, Iowa, Group Services. Renee Warren and Tom Schutz are the co-owners, the co-presidents, and they were doing something that was, well, very, very admirable. It was the right thing. They had modeled a firm that was going out and doing presentations to groups. They happened to be going out and getting in front of county auditors. They did a lot of municipal and county business, and these county auditors, so the financial directors for the counties would have these meetings, and they would go out and talk to them as a group, and they had some success with that. They had seen other agencies do that and have great success, have great growth, so they were doing that. They weren't getting the results they wanted, though, because they were modeling the masters. They were making sure that they were doing the right thing, but they were not as effective as they wanted to be. All right, so that though, modeling an agency or a producer or an agency leader who's getting the results he wants, that's modeling the masters. And when you model the masters, you start to get some certainty around what you want or should be doing. And once you're confident that you should be doing that, it's easier to take action. It's easier to commit yourself. You're not as uncertain, and you're ready to jump out on that journey to go from where you are to where you want to be. The problem is you end up having to make all these course corrections, because while you know that Tiger Woods plays golf, and you know he does certain things, you don't know exactly how he does it. So the secret to quick is to model the masters. How do I know what to do? Model the masters. It makes it easier to get where you want to go. But let's talk about shortcut number 2, which has to do with fast. So if easy is modeling the masters, what's the shortcut to fast? The shortcut to fast is to master the mechanics. Now, mastering mechanics is about the how. So Tiger Woods or Brent Snedeker or Phil Mickelson play golf pretty well. And I want to go out and play golf like them. Well, that's great, but how do they play golf? How do they get the results that they want? So let's take a look at mastering mechanics. This is implementing the tactics, the proven steps, action steps that get results for others. So those masters, what are they doing? More important, how are they doing it? What tactics they're using. So if a great strategy is to go speak one-to-many, to do the rainmaking approach, that's fantastic, but how do you get the results, the great results that come from that strategy? And that's the tactics. So you want to practice those proven tactics, and when you do, your efficiency goes up. So you're more effective doing the right thing, but you're more efficient doing it the right way. All right, so let's take a look at part 2 of the rainmaking case study. Let's go back to group services. So we were working with Renee and Tom, and they mentioned that they had another county auditor conference coming up. They wanted to kind of go over their presentation, but they mentioned, you know, we love doing these, and it's really good for building relationships, but we really don't get a lot of meetings out of it. We don't get a lot of results out of it. They knew it was the right thing to do, but they weren't leveraging it in the right way. So we sat down with them. We gave them a tactic that that we had developed by modeling some other masters. I mean, it works. It just continues. It continues. Where do Scott and I get our strategies? We look at agencies, at producers who are killing it. We say, what are you doing? And we borrow those tactics, and we share those tactics along with the strategies. So we gave Tom and Renee a tactical approach to engage the attendees, get feedback from them, and engage them for a meeting. And they ended up, out of, I think it was 37 at that particular meeting, they ended up with meetings with around 23, I think, set, and they ended up actually meeting with about 17 of those county auditors. So they got results because they were doing the right strategy, and then they used the right tactics within that strategy. The result was, over the next 12 months, they wrote $300,000 of new business on a consulting basis, because we had helped them move to a consulting model and a fee-based model, and they actually generated over $300,000 in revenue using the strategy of one-to-many, of rainmaking, using this specific tactic to engage the attendees and get meetings. Because as you've noticed, if you go to a meeting, you get to speak, you collect cards, but that does not mean you're going to get a chance to meet with them. This tactic got the meeting. So now, group services, Tom and Renee, are doing the right thing the right way. They're leveraging the strategy by using the right tactic. So earlier we said we were going to tell you why golf is the perfect sport for you to model. Let's say you are a big fan of Phil Mickelson, and let's say, lefty, Scott, I think he's a lefty. Say you're a lefty. See, I want to play golf like Phil Mickelson. He's a lefty just like me. I'm built about like he is. Surely I can play somewhere approaching his level. All right, well, that's ambitious. So, but you say, okay, what does he play with? So you go out and get all the clubs that he has. You even get the same golf bag that he has, and then you go out and get a caddy with the type of experience and approach to the game that Phil Mickelson's caddy has. Now, that's all great, but are you going to get Phil Mickelson results or anything close to it? Well, absolutely not. Almost certainly not. But what if you study his strokes? And what if you go and do what he does, which is get a coach to help you work on your strokes, and then you practice and practice the right tactics, the right strokes, the right swings over and over, using the right equipment with the right caddy. So now you've got the right strategies, the right tactics, and you'll start to get, well, you won't get Phil Mickelson's results, but you'll get better results. And you'll get them faster than if you simply took his clubs and are out there swinging them the way you swing them. So golf is great because I'll tell you, every top flight golfer has a coach. There's a reason for that. Your best thinking got you where you are. And congratulations. For those of you on this webinar, most of you are very successful and have a lot to be proud of. But the next part of that saying, your best thinking got you here. If you want to go beyond here, you need somebody else's thinking. You need somebody else's strategies and somebody else's tactics. And that's where modeling the masters and mastering the mechanics comes in. And then having a coach, you know, a strategist and advisor who helps you identify the right strategies, the right tactics, and then gets you out there doing them repeatedly to get the right results. That is how you get faster and easier results. So let's here's your formula for growth. Pretty obvious based on what we've been saying. Model the masters, figure out what they're doing, master the mechanics, identify how they are doing it, and you'll maximize your performance. You'll get better, more productivity, and more profitability. And you'll achieve your goals a lot faster, better and faster. It's a simple formula, but if you will look to see who's achieving the goals you want and then figure out what they're doing and how they're doing it, combine those two and practice, practice, practice. So we put it all together for a third rainmaking case study. This actually involves another one of our clients, Andy Neary with Volk Bell in Colorado. Andy had come to Ascend in 2016, January 2016, the inaugural Ascend, and he had discovered the rainmaking strategy. Well, he knew that's what he wanted to do, but then he got on a webinar that Scott was doing on the rainmaking approach, and he got a lot of notes. So now he's got a much better sense of not just what to do, but how to do it. Well, let's take it a step further. So Andy is now a client of ours, and he says, guys, I've got this big event coming up. I've organized a roundtable. I've got, I think it was about 23 organizations, county governments, some school districts, large, 3,500, 5,000, 10,000 life groups and organizations coming, some private sector firms. He had brought in an outside speaker who everybody wanted to hear because they had had a lot of success in their municipality with benefits. And so he had this great audience. He said, how do I make sure that I get some results? I get meetings with them. I don't want them just coming here and go back home. I don't just want them to see me as an expert. I want them to want to do business with me. I want to engage them. So we gave Andy, we call it a bridge strategy. It's the bridge between your presentation and a meeting. How do you build that bridge so you can go from the event that you're putting on or the event you're speaking at and actually drive meetings? And it's real simple. I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's an assessment. It's an assessment that you you execute during the event. You don't hand it to them and let them go home with it. You actually walk them through the assessment. And the assessment is just a tool to get the attendees a report. And this report is something you're going to deliver to them in a meeting. So you have them fill out the assessment, but it's like 6 to 12 questions, usually yes or no, sometimes 1 to 10, depends. And there's not a right way or a wrong way to do it, just it needs to be done properly. You hand out the assessment, you go through it, you have them turn it in with their contact information, and you tell them now that you filled out the assessment, you're going to get a report from our office, from our team, on how your organization grades out against other firms, but also in absolute terms, and we'll share with you strategies to improve areas of weakness and how to amplify areas of strength. So out of 23 attendees, he got 14 of them to turn in, I'm sorry, there's 17 attendees, and 14 of them turned in an assessment, and he had meetings with 13 of those 14. And he said to me, Nelson, it would have taken me 3 years to have gotten meetings with all of the organizations I've been able to meet with in the last 3 weeks. So it was very powerful. Why? Because he was doing the right thing. This strategy of one-to-many, putting a meeting together or speaking to a group of people already meeting, that's the right thing to do. And then he did it the right way. Now, what he was doing was modeling the masters and then mastering those mechanics that made the masters so effective at what they were doing. So last month in Orlando at our most recent quarterly Agency Growth Mastermind Summit, which is the quarterly meeting of our Agency Growth Mastermind Partnership, which is a peer exchange program for agency leaders. Andy's a member of that. Andy actually stood up in front of 30 other agency owners and shared his experience, this strategy. Andy is becoming the master, and he's giving his peers in the Agency Growth Mastermind Partnership the opportunity to model his success, his behavior, and of course he taught them the mechanics as well. So it's a very, very powerful process. If you will identify what you need to do, how it's being done successfully, and then apply it, you get results like Andy got. So, Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you talk about the most costly challenge that any agency leader has, and it has to do with opportunity cost.
Yeah, thanks, Nelson. And before we leave the last topic, I just want to give everybody a couple of quick notes. You know, like Nelson said, Andy modeled the masters himself and then mastered the mechanics based on some work we did with him. And now he is the master, which other people are modeling, and he taught the mechanics. And so in just a second, we're going to give you a couple of ways that you can identify masters in your marketplace, maybe likely outside of your marketplace, and then also how you can model their master the mechanics that they utilize in the strategies they identify. But I just wanted to reiterate this because it's so important. You don't always stay the person that is aspiring. If you do this enough, if you model the masters and you master the mechanics, you're going to be the one having the results that other people are going to want to model. They're going to be asking themselves, what are the mechanics that you're utilizing? And again, we're going to get a little bit more detail on how you can identify those masters and then identify the mechanics they're using as well in a minute. Before we do that, I want to talk about, like Nelson said, the most costly challenge that you have in front of you, and that's opportunity cost. Another way to say that is your untapped potential. And the reason we're talking about this is because this is the flip side. This is the flip side of modeling the masters and mastering the mechanics. This is the result of not doing those things. See, your untapped potential looks a whole lot like that traditional approach we saw toward the beginning of the presentation, the long, zigzaggy line from where you are to where you want to be. That's the status quo. That's default. That's a traditional approach. That's what most agencies and most agency leaders are doing simply because, to Nelson's point earlier, they don't know what else to do. And when they do that, they are suffering from tremendous opportunity cost. There's tremendous untapped potential there. See, the difference between where you are and where you want to be is untapped potential. That gap, what it's filled with, is untapped potential. We're just trying to show you how to cross it as quickly and easily as you can. So in order to do that, I actually want to quantify. I want to help you quantify your untapped potential. This is going to be uncomfortable. This is not going to be a fun part of the presentation. But it may be one of the most important things you do for yourself and your team all year in terms of preparing yourself and really motivating yourself to go from where you are to where you want to be, and to illustrate to yourself the value of modeling the masters and mastering the mechanics. So let's quantify your opportunity costs. The first thing we're going to do this is we're going to calculate the value of your current hour. What is a current work hour? Not an hour of your life, but a current work hour of your work life. What is a current work hour worth to you right now? It's a simple equation. Some of you who have attended Ascend or have heard us speak before may have gone through this process. I encourage you to go through it again. So I want you to take your annual current personal income, your work income that you make, not of your firm, but what you bring home, and write that number down or plug it into a calculator. And I want you to divide by the number of hours you work annually. Now, to calculate the number of hours you work annually, you simply estimate the number of hours you work in a week, and you multiply that times the number of weeks you work in a year. Hardly anybody works 52 weeks, so don't multiply times 52. If you're working 52 weeks, you're working way too much. You need to pay close attention because you're working way too much. And if you're working, unless you really just enjoy your work, if you're working more than 50, 55 hours a week, it better be because you really, really enjoy it, not because you feel like you have to. We have some clients who are working 20, 25, 30 hours a week, and they're seeing substantial growth. How are they doing that? We just talked about it. They're doing the right things in the right way. When you do the right things in the right way, fast and easy. You don't have to constantly zigzag. You don't have to constantly doubt yourself. You don't have to constantly go back and change things. You don't have to constantly have a false start with a marketing strategy and go back and change it or do something else. So what is your current personal income divided by the number of hours you work annually? So I've got just an example there on the screen. Let's say that someone's bringing in $250,000 and they work 2,000 hours a year, which is reasonable. I don't know exactly. I think that's 50 times 40. So 40 hours a week times 50 weeks a year. So when you do that math, that example yields $125 an hour. That's what this hypothetical advisor or agency leader's time is worth, $125 an hour. That is the amount of time, that's the value of their time where they are right now, on the left side of that chasm that we've talked about. That's where they are right now. That's the value of their hour right now. Now let's talk about the value of your ideal hour, where you want to be, where you want to be. So how do we calculate this? I want you to write down your annual desired personal income. And if you're already where you are personally, if you're an agency leader, then calculate this based on your entire firm, right? But if you're interested in growth, you're probably interested in increasing your own revenue, your own income. So write down your annual desired personal income and then divide by the number of hours you want to work annually. So again, desired personal income divided by the number of hours you want to work annually. We're trying to calculate the value of your ideal hour. And I'm telling you, if you're not doing the math right now with me, this is simple math, really easy to do. If you're not doing this right now, you're not hurting me, right? I mean, this is fun to do just from a curiosity standpoint, to see what the quantification is of that gap from where you are to where you want to be. So just out of curiosity, humor me and do the math. So again, let's use our hypothetical example. The number was $125 an hour, but this individual, this example individual, now they want to double their personal income, and they want to cut their workload by a little bit more than 25%. They want to work less, they want to double their income. In order for them to do that, the value of their ideal hour, this hypothetical example, is $347 per hour. All right, more than almost 3 times, not quite, almost 3 times what it was before, which was $125 per hour. So what is yours? At this point, you should have the value of your current work hour, which is where you are right now, and you should have the value of your ideal work hour, which is where you want to be. The difference between those, using our hypothetical model, 347 minus 125, the opportunity cost hour in this hypothetical model is 222. So what is your opportunity cost hour worth? What's your opportunity cost hour worth? Once you know that, you simply subtract the big one or the small one from the big one. You subtract the current one from the ideal. That'll give you what your opportunity cost hour is worth. Basically what that 222 tells me is it tells me every hour there's $222 of untapped potential. In other words, I'm leaving, in this example, this hypothetical person is leaving $222 on the table every hour they work. What is that number for you? Now you take that 222 and you multiply times your number of desired annual hours, the number of annual hours you want to work. Using this model, it was 1440. So the quantified difference, this is for you personally. You can extrapolate this for each of your team members, by the way. You can do this for every individual in your firm, right? And when you do this for every individual in your firm and you add them all up, that's the total firm's untapped potential number. The number we're looking at on the screen is the hypothetical number. It's the 222 times the number of desired annual hours, almost $320,000. That's this hypothetical person's gap, untapped potential, opportunity cost from where they are to where they want to be. 320 grand a year. What is your number? It may be smaller, it may be bigger. It doesn't matter what the number is. The number should be impactful enough, though, to help you understand the consequence of not finding faster, easier methods to growing your practice. See, the answer isn't working harder, and I don't mean to sound cliche here, but the answer is not working harder. The answer really is working smarter. And that is a cliche. How do you work smarter? Well, you find people who are already doing what you want to do, and you ask yourself 2 questions. What are they doing, and how are they doing it? For Andy, the answer, Andy Neary, the example we just gave, his answer was, well, they're doing one-to-many presentations. They're doing group presentations. Then the question he asked himself, well, how are they doing it to get the results? And that's when he watched the webinar that we delivered, and we did some coaching with him, and we gave him those mechanics, and he has started to master them now. So much so he's teaching them to our other clients. So what is your opportunity cost? What's your personal opportunity cost? And then if you extrapolate this, you do this math for every individual in your practice, not just the producers, but every individual in your practice. You add all that up. That will give you your firm's total untapped potential. That will give you your firm's total opportunity cost. That is the cost. That's what you're paying for not modeling the masters and mastering the mechanics. That's the cost of sticking with the traditional approach as opposed to applying the next generation approach. That's what it's costing you. That's the money you're not depositing in your bank. Now, so this is a very scientific way, very specific way to quantify the consequence of not following these strategies. Now, I mentioned that we would talk a little bit about how to model the masters and how to master the mechanics. Before I jump into that, let me touch on one of the most important things that we're going to talk about, and that is the difference between firms that experience fast and easy growth versus those who experience slow and tough growth. And you can see the 2 words, doubt going backwards, confidence going forward. That one word is this one, certainty. There is a best way. There can be more than one best ways, but there are best ways. There are best strategies. There are right strategies. And then within those strategies, there are right ways to do things. There are tactics and mechanics that allow you to do those things in the right way. So certainty is the key difference between those who are able to achieve growth fast and easy and those who are not able to achieve growth fast and easy. Where does certainty come from? Certainty comes from the success of others. It comes from the results of others. It comes from modeling those who have already done it and asking yourself the question, how did they do it? Or asking them the question, how did you do that? What are the mechanics? What does that golf swing specifically look like? What are you doing? Where are you looking? Where are your shoulders? Where are your hips? Where are your feet? You know, where's the ball in relation to my stance? Those are all the mechanics. You can know all that. You can know what the strategies are, but until you begin to practice and truly master the mechanics, you're not going to be nearly as efficient as you can be, even though you know the effective strategies. So, certainty is knowing that you have the right strategy and you're executing it the right way at the right time. Now, nobody's perfect. Nobody's always going to be doing the right thing in the right way at the right time all the time. There's always course correction, right? In business, there are things we cannot foresee. There are too many variables to predict everything, right? Absolutely, that's true. There's always going to be some course correction. What we're talking about is minimizing that course correction, minimizing the number of false starts, minimizing the amount of wasted time, effort, and money. When you minimize those things, those are the only three resources we have, by the way. Those are the only three things you can spend, invest, or waste, is time, effort, and money. That's it. There's nothing else. You can trade one for any of the other two. You can trade 3 for 3. You can trade 1 for another. But those are the only things you can do. You can spend, waste, or invest time, effort, and money. What we're talking about is how do you best allocate those three resources to minimize the waste and to maximize the investment that pays off. And what we've found, having worked with agencies for a long time and seen the ones that are most successful, the ones that have the most success the fastest and the easiest, are the ones who are not trying to reinvent the wheel. You know, being a pioneer sounds great until you realize that the pioneers are the ones with the arrows in their back, right? There's nothing wrong with doing something new and trying it out, but don't do that sacrificing a proven method or a proven strategy and focusing on the mechanics to make it work. Don't try to reinvent the wheel if someone else has already found a process, found a method, found a strategy that you can utilize as well. And you've got to make it your own. This is not about imitation. This is not about copying, but this is about learning. This is about modeling. It is about identifying the specific tactics that you can master. So the two questions to ask yourself. I talked about the fact that we would give you some insight into how do we practically go about modeling masters in our marketplace or in the industry, and then how do we go about mastering the mechanics. Two questions to ask yourself. This is the beginning of figuring those things out. The first question is this: who, if anyone, are you modeling or could you model to make your path to growth and success easier, more effective? So who are you modeling or who could you model? By the way, it doesn't have to be in this industry. Notice the question doesn't talk about the industry at all. There are plenty of successful people outside of our space that can teach you a whole lot that you can model to be successful. The second question is this: what practices are you mastering to make your path to growth and success faster? In other words, doing the things right. Question one is about identifying the right things to do. Question two is about doing those things in the proper way. Notice, again, these are not industry practices necessarily. They can be, and some of them will be, but you need to be looking outside the industry as well. One of the things that Nelson and I do a lot is we examine other service-based industries and non-service-based industries, and we take the best strategies and practices and we help our clients adapt them. In fact, when we were in Orlando last month at our Mastermind Summit Nelson was referring to, we did a backstage tour at Disney World, because we understand that they provide incredible client experiences, customer experiences, and we wanted to adapt those best practices for our people as well. So we took our group on a backstage tour of Disney, and there was a lot of fantastic value that was discovered there. So these are the two questions to ask. In terms of operationalizing this, look in magazines, read online, make yourself an avid student and learner of successful business people. One of the best business books I've ever read, I just read over the last week or so, called Blue Ocean Strategy. It's been around since 2005. Some of you may have read it. It's in my top 3 or top 5 business books of all time. Read that book. that book gives you specific companies and strategies that you can model. And then it breaks it down into the mechanics that you can utilize to easily provide more value and differentiation to your clients. So there you go. There's a resource. These resources abound, right? Magazines, online blogs, experts, individuals, etc. And so the next question that I'm answering here, and we're going to give you a little bit of a shortcut, and Nelson's going to walk you through a shortcut here, but where can you get ongoing access to successful masters to model and proven mechanics to master? There's lots of answers to that question. What we're excited about is what the AIL has done to help you answer that question. And so I'll turn it over to Nelson to talk a little bit about that as we wrap here.
Thanks, Scott. Really, really powerful ideas. So thanks for that. Let me ask you if you think you could learn something from the 2015 Employee Benefit Advisor of the Year, who was selected by Employee Benefit Advisor magazine, or the 2014 Advisor of the Year, or the 2015 Broker of the Year from Benefit Selling magazine. Do you think you could discover strategies and mechanics from the advisor who was featured on the cover of EBA magazine in August of 2016, or from the advisor whose firm was featured as the Benefit Firm of the Month in Rough Notes magazine in April, or from the advisor who just had an article published this week on online EBA magazine's online blog, or from an advisor Inc. magazine called the most effective consultant you've never heard of. And I could go on. All of these advisors that I just mentioned are members of the Association for Insurance Leadership. So when we talk to you about where can you get access to the successful masters that you want to model and discover the mechanics, the proven mechanics that you want to master, we want to suggest the AIL. So the mission at the Association for Insurance Leadership is to elevate the industry by supporting independent benefit firms with thought leadership, tools, resources to help you remain relevant, profitable, positioned for growth. And that comes from the models and the mechanics. So why did we form the Association for Insurance Leadership? Well, the industry has a real need. There is a lot of change that's going to happen, and we want to make sure that you have the right models to follow, the right masters to model. But here's the best thing. I was just speaking at an NAHU leadership summit in Biloxi just like a week ago. And I said, look, it's tough times in our industry, and everybody nodded their head. And I said, but these are the best times, because there is an opportunity like you've never seen. Not every agency is going to reinvent itself. Not every agency is going to follow and model the right masters. They're going to fitz and futz around and not get anything done. They aren't going to change their business model. They're not going to get really competitive, and you've got a chance to take their business away. You've got a chance to elevate your firm above them by doing the right things the right way, by modeling the masters and mastering the mechanics. But you have to know who to model. And the idea, going back to Andy Neary at our Mastermind Summit in Orlando, the best way to become better yourself is to help others become better. To elevate others, you elevate the industry, you elevate yourself, and by elevating yourself, you elevate others and you help the industry. By the way, I want to mention, too, we're excited. I'm a proud member of NAHU, have been for years, National Association of Health Underwriters. If you are not a member of NAHU, I strongly urge you to go to nahu.org and join. They're up in Washington fighting the good fight with the politicians and the bureaucrats to help our industry remain viable. But at the same time, What we're doing is completely different. It's why one of our honorary board members is the incoming national president of NAHU. So there's collaboration going on between our groups. But what we give you at AIL is cutting-edge resources, tools, technology, so that you can become more efficient and more effective and maximize your results. You get marketing strategies that really help you find, identify, and attract those high-quality prospects that you want. And selling, once you've got a warm prospect, how do you convert them to a client? Well, that's selling, and we believe in consultative selling. There's sales methods and training available from the AIL to give you the ability to educate your prospects on how you are different and better so that you can grow your business by converting them into clients. And then finally, making sure that your top-line revenue is maximized and your bottom-line profit is maximized. Well, that's management and leadership. And we provide insights and guidance to agency leaders to make sure that you are operating more efficiently and driving more top-line revenue to your bottom line as profit. So I want you to imagine a couple of things real quick. Imagine you have the opportunity to hear top agency leaders pop open the kimono and show you and tell you their strategies. And we do that every month with top agency leaders, getting them to share their best practices and their mechanics. Being able to model and leverage the same mechanics, the proven mechanics that have been working for other agency leaders. But you don't have to figure them out on your own. And then finally, knowing every week you can access continuing education that really makes a difference in your business. Information that's designed to help you grow your agency. So want to have you jump on and get involved in the organization, in the AIL, as a charter member. And we have a bonus here. If you go on the website now and decide to join, we will give you the lowest membership dues we will ever give anyone, and we guarantee them for life. And if you're interested in coming to Ascend, if you're qualified to come to Ascend, if you're an agency owner, leader, or benefits practice leader at a PNC shop, and you want a free ticket, which is a $1,200 value to come to Ascend, sign up for a full year, and you will get a $1,200 Ascend ticket at no cost. So more than makes up for the cost of membership in the AIL. Ascend is in January of next year. You can check it out at attendascend.com. So this is the website, ail-assn.org/charter membership. There'll be a video, and then you can scroll down to find out more information. So we'll leave this information here for you. The key thing here, whether you get your model, your masters to model by joining the AIL, or you look around in your own market, or you get online, you do research about other agencies across the country that are having success, if you will model the masters who are achieving the results you want, and you will then find out not just what they're doing, but how they're doing it, you will have success faster and easier than if you had tried to figure it out on your own. So for Scott Cantrell, this is Nelson Griswold. I want to thank you for investing your time. I want to congratulate you for investing your time in this webinar, and we look forward to having the opportunity to meet you at Ascend, or perhaps to have an opportunity to work with you on your agency. So Kathleen, thanks so much for the opportunity to do this presentation today.
Nelson and Scott, thank you so much. There was some really just fantastic advice and some very actionable and tactical things that people can walk away with, which is why we love having you present, in addition to the breadth and depth of knowledge. There is a question. Scott, you had mentioned a book when you were speaking. Can you repeat the name of that book again?
Yeah, absolutely. The book, I don't know the exact title, actually. I was reading it on my Nook, but Blue Ocean Strategy, I believe, is the title of the book. And forgive me, there are two co-authors of that book, and I don't know their names. They're academics, but they are professional business and management consultants who stay very busy helping large and small companies alike differentiate themselves. And so Blue Ocean Strategy is the name of the book. It came out in '05. I think there's been 1 or 2 editions since then. But again, one of the top 3 or 5 books that I've ever read from a business standpoint, and especially appropriate now for employee benefit agencies who are looking to find unique, creative ways to add more value to their clients and differentiate themselves from the status quo. The premise of the book is all about value innovation, and so I can't think of a more timely topic for employee benefit firms than innovating new value for their clients. So Blue Ocean Strategy is the name of the book, and I would encourage everybody to get a copy.
Great, thank you so much. And I'm just looking here in the chat and the Q&A just to see if we have any other questions. So I'll hold on the line. It looks like we still have quite a few participants who are holding on the line as well. Oh, and it looks like, how nice, one of our attendees responded with the 2 authors for the book, Blue Ocean Strategies, and that is Renee Mauborgne, M-A-U-B-O-R-G-N-E, and W. Chan Kim. Thank you.
Google is a wonderful thing.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Google is a wonderful thing.
It is. I do not see any other questions or comments coming in the chat or Q&A, so I think that we can take that as our sign that we can do our final sign-off. So again, I just want to say thank you to everybody who joined us today. A special thank you to Xywave Partners and, of course, to Nelson and Scott. Everyone have a great afternoon.
Thanks. You too, Kathleen. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.